Right. So currently the new chapter of Bluelock came out, and here's what I'll say. Right now we're at chapter 331, so this is going to be my prediction for the Japan versus France match, right? And right now, what I believe is obviously I don't think Japan is going to win. You have Hugo, Charles, and Loki. That isn't including all the other players in the team. Those three by themselves are all massive, like by Loki by himself. I think if it was just Hugo, then yeah, I do think they could beat France. But Loki by himself would definitely decimate them. Now give him an insane, player assister as Charles, right? And then give him another insane, assister like Hugo, which is crazy, right? They have 2 Generation 11s in their team. Regardless, I don't think they're going to win, but what I do believe is Japan at least will score something, and I do think Isagi will have his moment against Loki, but he will lose, because here's the issue, right? If Isagi loses, then Bluelock kind of loses its foundation, and then the follow-up match is going to be against England. They cannot lose that match against England, because of then they've lost most of their matches, and it will be all dependent on how Nigeria or England performed. You see, if England wins the Nigeria match and then wins the Bluelock match, then France won all of them, right? Obviously. And then, of course, if it won the Nigeria match and then beat Bluelock, it won 2. So they'll have you can do the point math yourself. Regardless, they cannot lose against England, right? And again, if Isagi were to lose, Bluelock would lose a lot of foundation, because if he is the heart of Bluelock, this has been, said a couple of times. And so he has to have at least a moment, something he can cling on to, saying, at least I did this. Which is my idea of, he would, outplay Loki, right? Because this is something in Bluelock that happens a lot. It's not strictly about winning or losing sometimes. Sometimes it's about, moments. Like, for example, when Yukimiya scored, it was like Isagi's moment. Because of, Isagi did all of that, right? Despite him not scoring, he was the one who built all of that up. Right, so that was Isagi's moment. There are other examples of this, but that was the only one that came to mind right now. Anyway, Bluelock. As for Hugo, I do believe with all the information we have now. Originally, I didn't really know what would happen. The match would be hard to predict. Like, any guess you would have would be just a guess of novelty. Like, this character didn't do this yet, therefore this character is most likely going to do this. That character is most likely going to do that now because of, they haven't done anything yet. But now that we have all the information given to us, not all, but enough information, I do think that our Joker, being Shido or Barou, will be deployed. Most likely because, let's actually go into Barou real quickly. Because if Shido, it would be harder to, explain why he would go in. Because Shido doesn't really have as many character relations compared to Barou. So Barou, the reason why I do believe he will come into the match and he will have, a moment is because of, first of all, this is the highest level of play they'll have, right? This is the strongest team, and of course, Barou would love to play in a match like that. That's kind of, his thing. He loves, being the king, dominating or whatever. And so it makes sense for him to be here. That's first of all. Second of all, Hugo is a very logical-based player. And because of that, a character who has multiple times been able to break logic or, affect logical players a lot is Barou. He's someone who his play style is so based on what he wants in him that you can't really put it into a database. So I do think Barou will have his moment in that match, which is why I believe that he will score. Shido also has been mentioned a few times. That, and also he played for PXG, which is a French team, and he's played with Charles and Loki. So, and also he's another Joker card. Ego has said before that they're interchangeable, Barou and Shido. Because in Bluelock versus U20, originally Shido was going to be the Joker, but then of course, didn't mix with Rin well. And so Barou was the Joker instead. So they're relatively interchangeable in terms of, as characters. Now, we also have the football god that was introduced a few chapters ago. I don't think it will appear here. I don't think it will appear here yet. Maybe it will for Isagi so that, he can have his moment against Loki. Because of, again, when it comes to Loki, he is without a doubt the best player right now. He is as good. He is not rivaling, but he threatens Noel Noah's position as number one right now. That's just how good he is. And he's playing against a bunch of under 20 players. This isn't very fair. So the only two characters that have like a correlation to Loki is, again, Rin and Isagi. Mainly because of Rin. Well, he played with him, and there was that one moment in the NEL when Loki was harsh on Rin. And Isagi, there was the moment where he just called him out, calling him like a speed merchant or whatever. So I do think those are the only two players that can like do something. Also because they're number one in Bluelock. But yeah, they're the only two players that have some correlation to Loki. So yeah. But let's get a little conspiratorial. If Isagi does lose and he doesn't outplay Loki, which is very possible because again, Loki's a really good player and it's a little too early for him to have like a moment. By the way, just because he outplayed Loki for like one moment doesn't mean he's a better player. That's something a lot of Bluelock fans just don't understand. But I do think that something that can be possible is because of Barou would, kind of outplay the whole France team, even if just for a moment, he will become the new heart of Bluelock. And that's going to be tough because Barou, he always wanted to be the king, and he's finally getting his his recognition and shit. But I guess he's always gonna be the bench demon. Unfortunately, him and Shido. So I don't think he'll be able to overthrow Isagi in the position of a king. He always will be just the wild card. Which, by the way, speaking of wild card, I don't think Kunigami is I don't know what he's gonna do in the match. He kind of doesn't really have a position. He kind of got thrown away in the NEL. So if he were to come back, it would be pretty interesting. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it'd be interesting to see Kunigami again. Mainly because of, he kind of lost himself in the match or again in the NEL. So yeah, to get crazy, Barou will become the new king of Bluelock, which is going to be tough. And then after that, I do think the issue is that Barou, again, he doesn't really have a very good relationship with a lot of characters. So I do think that isn't very possible. Plus, there's the fact that he will always be just the bench demon. He will always be the guy who's like, oh, we're losing? Okay, deploy Barou. He'll never be a main focus character, unfortunately. But it is possible. It does seem possible. So those are my predictions for the U20, not the U20, for the Japan versus France match. So yeah.